You might have watched various videos on YouTube covering Langchain with ChatGPT. But in this tutorial, I wanted to cover an open source LLAMA2 model with Langchain, like how you give prompt in some specific format that a LLAMA2 preferred. Hello all, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Translation task by using the Langchain. There is another use case that you can use Langchain and LLAMA2 with it, which is called summarization. The third use case that you can use Langchain with LLAMA2 is kind of doing a simple chatbot, right? So for that, my YouTube channel. So there has been a lot of development in generative AI world, and recently we have seen a lot of developments in new kinds of model which is getting compared with ChatGPT and all other GPT models, right? So recently we also witnessed a Llama 2 model which is developed by Facebook, and it has been performing quite well, and it has been in a lot of talks on the internet, and which is true because it is not comparable to the ChatGPT model, and it is available for as an open source. And so it is very important model that can be helpful in developing many kind of applications today. So ChatGPT provides an API which is kind of paid, and you can use it for your own purpose, and directly you can utilize that particular purpose, and definitely you can use it. And there's also a recent development that has come up from ChatGPT that you can also fine-tune that particular model, and you can also utilize that fine-tuned model for your own purpose. But that is also not open source, and it requires quite a hefty amount to be fine-tuned, and then you can use it. But this Llama 2 model can be fine-tuned and can be used for your own purpose. But this particular tutorial is not about fine-tuning. It's all about covering a topic which we can utilize Llama 2 inside a Langchain. So you might have watched various videos on YouTube covering Langchain with ChatGPT. But in this tutorial, I wanted to cover an open source Llama 2 model with Langchain, like how you can utilize it for particular purpose like summarization, translations, and you can also use Llama 2 for chatting using Langchain. So that is the motive of this particular video, and you can also utilize this particular Langchain, this particular tutorial for importing a lot of other models, generative AI models from Hugging Face to Langchain and utilize it for your own purpose. But I'm utilizing Llama 2 for this particular tutorial. Okay, so for that, let's get started. And for this particular tutorial, you need to install all of the dependencies that are required. So you might be installing transformers, the sentence piece, and Langchain. So that is the most important dependency that you have to install for this particular tutorial. And then you have to make sure that you're on the GPU. And then you have to import some of the transformers library, and also the auto tokenizer and auto model for casual language model. So Llama 2 is basically a casual language model. So you have to use or import the Llama 2 model or download the model's weights from the Hugging Face. Maybe you can use the official weights of Meta AI, and for that you have to sign up, and then you have to register, and then you get an access token, and you put it up here in the Hugging Face import. But I'm utilizing someone's other weights, which is kind of a replica of the Meta AI Llama 2 model. So I'm using Neo's research weights, which is official weight, a kind of an official weight, which is called a replication of Llama 2. So I'm utilizing it for this particular tutorial, and I'm trying to download the weights from this particular link. And then once I download that particular model, and specifically I'm using 8-bit model, and because in the collab it has been like it gives 14 GB of 15 GB of GPU, and if you just omit this 8 bit of loading the model, you can see that your memory will be very utilized at like 19%. So you don't want to utilize all of your 19%. You want to keep some of the space for your inferencing task. So I did load it in the 8-bit quantization. You can also load that particular model in 4-bit. It just depends upon your GPU hardware that you're going to utilize for this particular inferencing, right? So if you're using a collab, you can just take up this load in 8-bit format, and then you can load up your model in 8-bit, and that's it. Once you have the model ready, And one thing to mention here is I am specifically using LLAMA2 7B chat model. So this is a 7 billion parameter chat model, and Meta AI provides there are two different kind of model. Obviously, there are variations in the parameter, but actually there are two types of model. And if I have to show you, so there are kind of two types of model. One is pre-trained model, and one is fine-tuned model for chat use cases. The model that I'm showing up here is particularly instruct fine-tune for chatting, but Llama 2 also provides a pre-trained model, similar to kind of you can understand is kind of a knowledge base, similar to like a BERT kind of models, where you try to input a particular sentence and it will complete it sometimes, or I should say not BERT, it should be a GPT kind of models, where you kind of give an input and it's going to generate some things out about the particular input that you have given. So it's like a text completion. So that is what the pre-trained models are, but fine-tuned chat models are an extensions over this pre-trained model. So they essentially use this pre-trained weights and try to and they fine-tune on that instruction database chat dataset, and then it get you a chat kind of model. So which is what this particular Llama 2 7 billion chat model is. And for that particular chat to work, you have to import a pipeline, and in pipeline you have to specifically import it from the transformers, and then you have to pass in text generation, and then you pass in the model tokenizer, and then you have to pass in a toss data type, and then how many max token you want to generate an output, and then you want to set up a sampling, like when you try to predict a new token after a given sequence of sentence. Basically it does a sampling and give a most highly probable token out of it, and it's going to take another parameter where while sampling it's going to take up top 30 samples, and it's going to pick up from that higher probability samples, right? So that's a sampling technique that generally uses. And then there are some different parameters that you can search, and these are the kind of end token IDs that you have to represent it for this particular text model. And once you are done with this pipeline setup, you can use Llama 2 with your Langchain. You can check your GPU usage. So you can see I had like 15 GB of memory, and I used 8 GB of memory after loading this particular model, and which is in 8-bit quantization. So this is a setup that you have to do for loading, and you have to setting up a text generation pipeline, right? So that is very easily done from the transformers library. And now for this particular model to make you chat, you have to perform some kind of input prompt. You have to make your prompt in some specific format that a Llama 2 preferred, that Llama 2 is being preferred. So what you need to do is you have to prepare your chat prompts in such a way that the Llama 2 accepts. So this is the format that generally Llama 2 accepts. So in the first statement, you can see that there is a INST token, which is specified at start of instructions, and then after that you mention an SYS token, which is a system token. So you have to give a system token, like you have to make sure that system is very honest, and you have to pass in a certain system configurations, so that the system shouldn't hallucinate that too far, so that you couldn't get the right answer that you require. So that's what the system prompt is required to make sure that your assistance is in a specific domain that you're specifically targeting to get your answer from. So that's the specific system token you have to pass in, and after that you have to end the system token with /sys. Then also you have to pass in the prompt. So once you set up the system context, then you're gonna pass in your own question or your own prompt, and then you're gonna end your instructions token. So that's the format that you generally have to make sure before performing any kind of Llama 2 inferencing, or any kind of if you're trying to fine tune your Llama model, you have to make sure the data set is in such format. So this is the format, like how the Llama 2 is required. So we are going to just replicate the same format for our own demonstration. So for this, I am taking representing instruct token start and ends by B instruct and E instruct. And similarly, I'm going to represent my system start and end tokens by B SYS and E SYS. And then I'm going to set up a default prompt for my system, which is like, you are helpful, respectful, and honest assistants. Always answer as helpful as possible while being very safe. Your answer should not include any harmful, unethical, racist, and and illegal content. Please ensure that your responses are socially unbiased and positive nature. So this is kind of an information that you're trying to set up for a particular assistance to help you in some positive directions. Now it shouldn't hallucinate in the negative direction, start giving you unnecessary answers. So this is the system prompt. First you have to set it up for any kind of generation, and these are some specific functions that are required to perform to make your inputs in this format, right? So these are specific functions that are required to do it, and you can see in the get prompt you're simply attaching the SYS and tokens with your system prompt. So this is a system prompt. You will pass it to inside this get prompt, and you're going to attach start with a system token and end with a system token. Similarly, you're going to then add instruct tokens and instruction token. Remember the instruct token that is required at the start of this particular format, this one, and then you have to wrap it up with your instructions that you're going to format, right? So this is the formatting that you have to make sure that happens, and there are some complementary functions that you can use it to make your inferencing looks more prettier and more informative, instead of writing it more in a form of like a raw output generated from the llama. So these are some functions that are being required, and then finally in the generate function you're going to take up your prompt. You can use the get prompt function. You're gonna load your tokenizer, you're gonna load your model, you're gonna pass in the inputs, and then you're gonna make it like how many tokens you want to generate, and then you're gonna decode the outputs from the models, and then you're gonna remove the substrings. Like this substring gonna be attached with particular output of our llama model, so you have to remove it. So that's what the cutoff text function is doing here. And then you're gonna remove some substrings. So let's say the substring could be like this, so we are trying to remove this substring. So it's just, so these two functions are just an filtration from the output that we're going to get from the LLAMA2 model, and then this particular function is gonna take the final outputs and then generate a parser text for you. So this is the function that we're going to use in this whole tutorial. So I want to make sure that this is the format that is required, and these are helpful functions that are going to be used in this particular tutorial. So with this particular information, let's try something. Let's try generating an example prompt. So I just gave an instruction like how to make Isro is successful in making, how Isro is making successful in satellites and lunar missions. But that's just an example that you can take it. So I'm just going to generate an instructions by using get prompt function. So you can see the system message, there is instruct token, and then it is followed by the system token, and then you're going to pass the system information right, and then here as soon as your system information is completed, you're gonna end with system tokens, and then here you're gonna start your prompt like how to make Isro, whatever you have written here, and then you're gonna end with the end instruction token. So that's how the prompt is being delivered and it is made. And then there's a different instruction that you can give, like you can pass in the instruction called summarize the following text, and then you're gonna rewrite the system prompt. So you're gonna pass in you're an expert in summarization, reducing the number of word used. So this is the system prompt that you're going to make sure to pass into the prompt, right? And you're going to pass in the instruction. So this is the get prompt function. You're going to pass in the instruction and system prompt. So this is a some example of a formatting a particular input, right? So this is the format that is being used. So these are examples that make shows that we are in the right directions of implementing the LLAMA2 in the required format. So once that is understood, then we can move to the Langchain, where we're gonna import the Hugging Face pipelines. The Hugging Face pipelines with the LLAMA models, and also we're going to pass this kind of inputs to the model and get an output by it. So this generation of prompts or examples of prompts are very helpful, and we're going to use the same kind of context with chatting with the particular model. So for that, first you need to import Langchain, and then you're going to import Hugging Face pipeline class format, and then you can also import prompt template and LLM chain. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about this. and this is very understood, like you're going to use any Hugging Face pipeline integration with Langchain. So this is the Hugging Face pipeline, and then you're going to pass the pipe, which is the same pipeline that we import at the top. So this is the same pipeline you're going to pass in. And then here we are going to pass the model parameters. So I am going to specify temperature is equal to 0, so because we don't want any kind of new word generated by the particular model. I don't want to be very creative. I want to be very specific on the output of the particular model. So hence I set it to 0. But if you want to make sure that model is very creative on generating a text, you can make it 1, or you can select 0.5, 0.6, something like that temperature. So once your LLM is set up by using Hugging Face pipeline, then you're going to perform. So let's say we want to perform a translation task by using the Langchain, right? So for that, I'm going to set up a system prompt like you are an advanced assistant and translation system. So you want to pass a instruction, convert the following text from English to Spanish. So this is system prompt and this is instructions. So definitely we have to convert that into the LLAMA2 format. So that's where you're going to use get prompt method. You're going to pass instructions and system prompts, and that's the template that is going to generate. So this is a prompt template that it will generate for us. Now this prompt template is being utilized inside the prompt template method, which is given by the Langchain. So prompt template method is nothing but it's going to take the input prompt that you generally generate by using the system and instruction prompt, and then you pass into the prompt template, and then you're going to pass in the input variable, that is the prompt that you're going to pass in as a question or as an output that you want. So in this, if you see in the instruction, convert the following text from English to Spanish, I also specified one string called text, where it is acting as an input. Whatever the input I'm going to give, it will be reflected here inside the instruction. So the whole thing is being called as an input to the prompt, right? So this is where we are trying to specify that load the template that you have specified here, and also the input variable is text. And then once you have specified the prompt, that's a format that generally Langchain accepts. So this is the way that we have to make it format in using Langchain. So once you have generated the prompt in the form of prompt template, then you have to pick up the LLM chain, which is like a LLM chain that is generally kind of associating the prompt and LLM in a same class. So you're trying to wrap up the whole thing in a same class, which is called LLM chain, which will perform sequentially everything. So if you see that you're going to import LLM chain, and then there you're going to specify the prompt that you have created from prompt template, and then you're going to specify the LLM. LLM is coming from here. So that's going to wrap up the LLM chain, and that's your LLM chain ready. So if you see in the output, you can see that this is the prompt that we are going to pass in. So this is the template that we passed in. So you can see this system has generated something like you are an advanced assistant and translation system, and then convert the following text from English to Spanish, and then you have to pass in the text, and this is the format that you want to pass into the LLM, right? So this is the thing that you have to set it up for generating any kind of output from LLM2. And then this is a text I'm going to pass in, like how to make chatbot in easiest possible way. And then you have this text, and then you're going to load the same LLM chain, and you're going to use the method .run, and then you're going to pass in the text inside that particular chain. So once that output is getting generated, you're going to see that this particular text is being translated into Spanish. So you can see here's the output. Here's a translation of how to make chatbot in easiest possible way from English to Spanish, and here's the output. So I checked this output, it was pretty good, and if you can see, the Google also specified a similar kind of output from that you're seeing from the LLAMA2. I am pretty impressed with this particular kind of output. Maybe you can check with different kind of inputs, and you can test it out. And then there is another use case that you can use Langchain and LLAMA2 with it, which is called summarization. So obviously for summarization, you want to specify a different system prompt and also the instructions, right? So this is what I'm doing it here. So you can see in instruction, I'm going to specify summarize the following article, and then in system prompt, you're going to specify like you're an expert in summarization of articles and expressing the important information. So this is the system prompt, and then you're going to generate a system template like this. So once you generate a template, you're going to pass into the prompt template and specify the input variables, and then you're going to raise or you can wrap it up the prompt and the LLM model in a Langchain, which is LLM chain, and then your Langchain for your summarization is ready. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna specify. You can specify the text. You're gonna take some articles. So I took one of the articles from Chandrayaan-3, which is a recent recent developments in the ISRO for landing a rover over the moon. So this was the Chandrayaan-3 missions, and I'm taking all of this informations as a text, and I'm passing it into the LLM chain for summarization LLM chain, and trying to get a summary of all the text that I have passed in. So this is the output that you can see, that Chandrayaan-3 is, and this is summarized output that you have passed in. So you can see there's a count of word like 331, and you got summary output like 275. It's kind of a little summarized, but you can pass in lengthy sentences and you can get an answer, summarized answer from this particular model. So you can see the output is something like Chandrayaan-3 is an Indian space mission aimed at demonstrating new technologies from interplanetary missions. The missions consist of a lander module, propulsion module, and a rover, all of which are equipped with scientific payloads to conduct experiment on the lunar. So this kind of output, summarization output, can be useful by using LLAMA2, and which is very very compressed kind of summarization I can see. Okay, so this was one second use case that you can use. The third use case that you can use Langchain with LLAMA2 is kind of doing a simple chatbot information, like how you do it in the ChatGPT, right? So whenever you write something on ChatGPT, it remembers your previous context, whatever you have written in the chat, and then it replies based on that particular information, right? So similar thing you can replicate here by using Langchain.memory conversational buffer memory. So this particular class actually store all of your context, whatever you have chatted around with that particular model, and it will store that particular context, use that particular context for your next iterations of your chat. So that's a particular function of this particular conversational buffer memory from Langchain. You can utilize it, and then you're going to utilize Langchain LLM and prompt template for it. So let's say we want to develop a chatbot model, a simple chatbot model by using Langchain, so, and also using LLAMA2. So you want to specify the instructions, the similar format that you want to make it up for the LLAMA2, and then you're going to specify a system prompt. So in the instructions, I'm saying that chat history, you have to provide a chat history and then user input. That's the instruction that I'm going to pass. In the system prompt, you are helpful as chat assistant. You always read the chat and respond and then stop. Read your chat history to get a context. So this is a system prompt that I'm passing in, and once we generate a template, you're gonna see this is a template that is gonna generate for us, and it's a similar template that LLAMA2 accepts. And then we want to use prompt template from Langchain, and we're going to specify the input variables, chat history and user input. Remember, in the instructions, we want to pass in the chat history and a user input as an input variable to the prompt template, and you will specify the template, which is this one, right? And that's how the prompt is getting generated. And then we want to pass this particular prompt in the LLM chain, right? And you can also need to specify the memory, which is kind of storing all your chat histories, and where this conversation buffer memory is helpful. So you're gonna specify like which is the key memory that you want to specify. So you can see chat history is the main key in the template. So we're gonna specify the memory, which will be taken care while taking an input history. So that's how you're gonna specify two things. And then the third thing is LLM chain, where you have to specify the LLM model and the prompt that you have defined at the top, and then memory, whatever the conversation memory where you have to focus on. So that's how you're gonna specify in the LLM chain, and that's the chatbot LLM chain ready for you using Langchain. So now we have to use this to chat, right? So you can use LLM chain.predict, and then you're gonna give an input user input like, hi, I am Karndeep, how are you? So you can see the Langchain executes, it initiates a chat history. You can see there's no chat history right now, so that is blank for now, but you can see there's an input from user, hi, I'm Karndeep, how are you? So this is an input that is going, and this is the answer that is coming from the model. So you can see, hello Karndeep, I'm doing well, thank you for asking, it's great to chat with you today, how can I assist you? Then I continued my chat, how are you helpful in assisting me? Then that's, if you can see here in the chat history, it's taking it's taking my previous inputs and previous output given by the model, and then it's taking again a new input, which is the current input that I gave, and then it's trying to generate an output based on the previous input. So it says, I had be happy to help in any way I can. Is there something specific you need assistance with me, or a task you had like to help me with you complete? Please let me know and I will do my best to assist you. So I just continued my chat with the current input information. So you can see, can you help me to write step-by-step approach to build a successful online business? So if you see, it took all my history here, the history chats, and then it took also my the current input, and then it generated an output. Okay. So yeah, so this is the kind of an use cases that you can build up directly from LLAMA 2 using Langchain. And 7 billion parameter model is quite good in doing such kind of direct use cases that you saw, but it might struggle. The 7 billion model can struggle in converting your use case in certain parser format, like structured format like JSON format or any kind of table format, and it can also be very challenging for this particular model to generate a specific use case by completing some kind of information that you want from the model to be generating. And but for these kind of direct use cases, it's very helpful and you can use it. But maybe the 32 billion parameter model or the other parameter, the higher parameter model, can be helpful in generating very structured kind of format that you require from the particular model. And for that you need to have a little more RAM than expected. So you can utilize that particular model for your own use cases by quantizing it. So this is the use cases that you can take it up. And if you have any other questions regarding this Langchain and LLAMA 2, you can specify in the comments below. And also let me know what are the other things that you want me to cover in the upcoming videos regarding the generative AI, and I will be happy to make a video on that. And I hope you enjoyed this particular video. Thank you.